going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much for tuning back in here for part 2 here of this recording here with the one and only the biggest Pack 9 fan there is, Justin Cooke again. So make sure if you haven't checked out part 1 already yet, as we talked about the NCAA snubs, we talked about last year's team, talked about the ACC championship, all that jazz. So make sure if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure to go and do that first and then come back here for part 2 here. So again, for part 2, we're going to be kind of talking a little bit in terms of the players that have left, in terms of that, put their names in the transfer portal. People have gotten in so far, talk about some of the high schoolers, kind of expectations for next year's team, and also to kind of talk about, hopefully what are some things that we expect to be different for next year's team compared to this year's team. So that way next year, we first of all get the ACC banner up in the rafters, which is definitely much, much needed. And then also to, hey, get another College World Series berth, because I don't know about, everybody else, but I know that Greg, Justin, and myself were there in Omaha last year, and we are dying to go back again. So it was a blast. So yeah, Justin. So, I mean, obviously, take kind of looking at, some of the big names that, left, the team this year. Obviously, the glaring one in the face is, this top, number 47 guy. It's one of the things that, again, I mean, and again, I want to go ahead and say this, right from the get-go, that, we do not approve whatsoever of any kind of, negative talk in terms of, hatred towards, again, then these young adults, these kids, then the day they're just doing what they feel is best for them, no matter what no matter what reasons, number 47 had for making that decision. But the one thing which I will say, and we kind of talked about this a little bit off air, and because now we're just stating facts, at the end of the day, it was very well known that really the two biggest reasons why he supposedly left NC State was, first of all, because he didn't really get a chance to play defense, and then second of all, because he wanted to be closer to home. And so now with the fact that he's going to LSU, now you're kind of taking away the excuse of, okay, you're trying to get closer to home, because LSU is not really closer to home compared to NC State. So now the only other reason that you had said is because you wanted to play defense. Well, from from some reports, I mean, it's LSU. So, I mean, like, it's not like it's some team that's like, listen, Tommy, wherever you want to play, we'll play you. It's like, it's LSU. I mean, which is, predominantly a pretty, high ranking baseball program, a team that's, gone to College World Series, won national championships, things like that. So, I'm sure that even though he played third base, I mean, that he might not get first base, third base, he might play first base. He might, they might ask him DH. I don't know. Like, I really don't know what is at this point, but obviously too, you can't look around too that there's probably an NIL factor to it as well. But I mean, that's all speculation, again at this time. But, Justin, kind of tell me, I would assume more than likely when you found out, it really wasn't much of a shock, really, probably would be my guess on it, right? When you heard the news.
On one hand not. I mean, before he picked LSU, they ended up picking up a second baseman from Baylor. And going into yesterday, I mean, there was talks where it was like Tennessee and some other small schools and some other Florida schools. And then out of the blue yesterday, there was a thing where it said he visited LSU the night before. So, I mean, it's surprising, but not really at the same time on one hand, because, I mean, they also got a little from Vanderbilt, one of Vanderbilt's weekend guys, too, in the portal yesterday. So, I mean, if you want to make it, try to be like what Tennessee and Arkansas were the last couple of years and try to make a deep run and maybe make it to Omaha, that's probably a good place to go.
True. Absolutely.
To be honest.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Hey.
I would be curious.
Nope, you go, Greg.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I wonder how much of the link Jarrett to FSU may or may not have impacted the Florida State option for him, because him, there's no unknown secret that he's a big FSU guy. There's pictures of him in his Instagram with wearing FSU ball caps, and but with Link Jarrett coming over, having seen him, obviously, playing against Notre Dame, I'm curious to see if that was even an option for him, and that maybe have led him to LSU as well. But again, we'll never know. But it is an interesting to think about.
And also too, got to give a quick shout out to Link Jarrett as well. Kind of hearing his explanation to the Notre Dame team about how it really came down to, it didn't come down to money, it didn't come down to really anything else besides the fact that his parents and his wife's parents live in Florida, that they don't really have any other family near them, so he wanted to take the job so that way he could be closer to his family. I mean, I think that no Notre Dame fan, no Notre Dame player can fault them for that. I mean, because you could tell he wasn't. It wasn't BS. It was straight up like, I mean, you could just tell in his eyes that this is 100% the real reason. It doesn't come down to money. It didn't come down to anything else. Because at the end of the day, that, I mean, literally Notre Dame just pulled off one of the biggest, if not the biggest, upset in college baseball history, and beating Tennessee in a super regional series at Tennessee that was in the talks for being possibly the greatest college baseball team of all time. And so you knew that no matter what money he put on the table, Notre Dame would easily have offered it. I mean, Notre Dame would have paid whatever it takes to keep him around easily. And
they got enough money.
Exactly. So, because I mean, his stock is high right now, probably the highest, of most any coaches right now. So, so I mean, that's why I would say, I mean, great get for FSU, for sure. But I mean, again, kind of talking a little bit of number 47, obviously I'm glad, I'm sure this probably wasn't necessarily a part of his decision, but I'm glad he made the decision to not go to a division rival. Because again, I think that LSU, if he would have gone to FSU, it would have been a much bigger slap in the face. It would have been an extra slap in the face to NC State fans for sure. That he's going to basically choose to go play in a division rival. And also too, and with the fact that we play a home series against FSU next year, that again, I can't even wrap my head around that. And I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. Let's put it that way. I'm glad I don't even have to think about that, because that there will be some State fans that would just be tearing him a new one during that entire series. And part of me says, I mean, at the end of the day, he had to know that would have been a possibility. Again, unfortunately, at the end of the day, even State fans myself is saying, I can't do negativity. I'm like, it's
when you're in the moment, it's a lot different.
Literally, that dude is literally in the record books of NC State history forever. I mean, I don't know, honestly, I mean, I hope it gets broken one day just so it doesn't sit at the top. But I mean, also too, because that means that we, have a guy that's probably taking us to a special season, hopefully. But, unfortunately, that's one of the issues right now, is the guy that literally left us after year one to go to a team that basically is offering him defense and probably NIL is probably the two reasons at this point, that he basically left us for that, so but again, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, it's next man up. That's what it's got to be. At the end of the day, everybody says, what are you going to do now? Avon's like, no, next man up. We'll find our own guy. And not even like a day or two after that, we got Carter Trice from Old Dominion, which, we definitely need to talk a little bit about, because I mean, he's a utility guy that can play all over the field. He's a great hitter. He was first team, all freshman team. His NCAA all NCAA freshman team his freshman year. So I mean, he's a great player, great get for sure. And I think that, from some of the rumors and some of the talks, I mean, that there's going to be a couple other guys coming in on top of having a huge freshman class that we already have coming in. So, kind of tell me, Justin, I know that, again, Carter was a great get. And also I know there's some talks right now. So kind of what are your initial thoughts let's talk about Carter first. What are your kind of initial thoughts, getting Carter Trice coming in?
I think that's a big pickup. The kid is playing in the Cape Cod League right now. He's doing very good over there. He's probably going to be, like we said, he's going to be a utility guy, but I think we'll probably see him in the outfield more than anything.
Yep.
My guess would be probably right field.
Okay.
But I think it's a big pickup. He can be probably anywhere from 2 to 5 in the lineup. Probably just depends on what happens in the rest of the portal and with the freshmen coming in and the guys we got coming back.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think it's a big pickup for just with the defensive issues we had last year to get a guy who can play multiple positions and just put him where we've struggled defensively.
Yep.
So Justin, you say you think he might gets plugged into the right field. So what are you thinking about Souls then? You thinking he's getting drafted and going, or what do you
draft
think?
Thing's going to be interesting. I mean, if he comes back, let's say he comes back, I think he'll probably be center field.
Really? Wow.
and that's if he comes back.
Well, because one of the things that I think is glaringly obvious that I think we missed last year is we didn't really have a lot of speed last year. Devontae Brown and JT Jarrett are quick, but they're not fast. I don't think anything in terms of, statistically you'd call him fast. Like JT Jarrett, even as quick as he is, with his button goes, he only had, I think, one stolen base last year. And then Devontae Brown had a couple, but I don't even think we had anybody that had double-digit stolen bases last year. That's why
we had some freshmen that had speed. We had freshmen that had speed, but they didn't really get a chance to use it.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying that, because Noah Souls is definitely not that. So, because I know predominantly you want a pretty fast player in center field because, he's usually covering most of the field. So that's why, do you still have Dominic Pololi out in left field too? If it's you? Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting take to see what happens with that situation between now and the fall.
Okay, so we'll just leave it at that?
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, cool.
Hey, FYI, we did got one with 10 stealing bases, Peyton Green, 10 for 10.
Well, yeah.
So he was the only one that had double digits.
Again,
you got Will Marcy coming back too. And that's another good young bat too you got.
Yeah.
So, if I think it's all going to come down like see what happens in the draft that's coming up next month. Let's say Noah doesn't come back, you got some other young guys coming back and coming in and that you're going after in the portal. That
absolutely
out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of names. There's a lot that Avon could do and Cart can do, and especially too because they are very much well known for being great developers of talent. There's so many examples of developing talent that Avon and Hart have done. That anybody who's looking to take their game to the next level, they know if they came to NC State that they would get that. Along with too the fact that if they came here, that they're in the process right now of starting the upgrades to the Doak field as well. So you're basically entering a new era of NC State baseball as well. And so to tell a player that not only can you develop your game and get yourself ready for the MLB level, and being the fact that now over the last couple of years we've had multiple people compete in the MLB in terms of Andrew Kisner, Trey Turner, Carlos Rodon, that you can add your name to that list, but also too on top of it that you can be the part of a new era in state baseball that has that gets a much nicer stadium, that will be able to recruit a lot bigger guys, that will be able to year after year compete at the top level. It's a win-win for the player in my eyes. But again, that's a little bit of a biased eye, which I'll go ahead and admit right here and there. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightland's Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightland's Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So kind of tell us a little bit, Justin, in terms of, some of these other, we have a ton of freshmen coming in. I know that we have, some other, so I guess we'll just kind of stick to the guys that we know are coming right now. So who are some of the guys that kind of stand out to you right now that are signed as freshmen coming in this year?
Coming in, you got guys like Eli Serrano, he's a big talk. He's like 6'5". He can play all 3 outfield positions and play some first base. That kid's got some good talent. He's going to get better as I think he's just going to be here 3 years and probably get drafted. He's going to be good. You got a kid that I know a lot of people have talked about was Mike Upton, whose his batting average wasn't that good this year, but the kid's got talent, speed. He outdid Trey Turner's 40-yard dash time.
Wow.
And then basically what I heard is this kid's kind of like that Vanderbilt kid that has speed.
Okay.
He could be like him, and he's got a little bit of Devontae Brown in him too, a little bit.
I like it.
Built-wise.
I like it. Now,
and then you got...
So that's why I thought he was going to be more of a center fielder, because when you had mentioned Souls earlier, I thought maybe we might end up plugging him out to be our center fielder next year.
Depends on if Noah comes back or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, you got a young pitcher in Robert Evans from New York. He's a left-hander. He's one of those guys that basically, if his defense is doing good behind him, he'll do good on the mound.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, this whole freshman class that's coming in is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's ranked
again, they'll
17 right
develop.
now.
Yeah.
17. Wow.
I mean, I feel pretty good about getting all these freshmen on campus this year.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. And because one of the things I want to bring up with Eli Soriano is that so last year he hit 413 in 16 games. He had 413, won the co-MVP honors at the 2021 World Wood Bat Association U17 tournament. So he already matched his 5 doubles from junior year despite 60 fewer plate appearances. He also has 13 RBIs and 16 runs scored on 7, and while adding 7 walks in 16 games. So again, definitely a great guy that can do it all on the offensive and defensive side for sure. But definitely the biggest question I think is pitching. I think that next year that was the glaring issue this year was pitching depth. And obviously losing Sam Highfill had a lot to do with that. Obviously, any team that loses their ace pitcher, you're going to be struggling. Simple as that, because now you're basically having to cover 6 or 7 innings for a weekend series matchup that you didn't plan to cover beforehand. So from what I've heard, more than likely is that that there's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to risk a middle round / middle round or up pick on Sam Highfill, just because there still is a lot of questions with his back. Which is unfortunate, but it's kind of one of those things that, if he can get right and, really, have the season that we all expect him to have this upcoming year, during a year, which I think that we needed. That's the thing, guys. I think that heading into next year, obviously with the fact that more likely we're going to lose Chris Villeman to the draft, to get Sam Highfill back, okay, Justin kind of gives me so we'll kind of get his thoughts on that. But again, it's great to have that building block that we can build around in Sam Highfill and then maybe Chris Villeman. So, Justin, give me your thoughts. I saw the on it, so tell me.
Right now, the guy that's only probably will get drafted is Chris Villeman. That's like a big make because he's not even in a couple of the draft boards, like in the top 300 in some of the draft boards.
Interesting.
For prospect wise.
Interesting.
And right now he's pitching up in the Cape Cod League. He started 2 games so far up there and came out of the bullpen 1 time. So from what I'm hearing, it depends on how the draft goes. We may see him back, we may not. Just depends on how the draft goes.
Okay, interesting. So what else do you see? Because go ahead.
Yeah, the last draft I heard about, he was projected 6th to 8th round.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
it just depends.
Yeah.
That's still good, but it just depends on what scouts see him as pitching wise.
Right.
And here's the other thing to remember too. He's still got negotiation, right? So, he has that, he has that flexibility to come back. So if he doesn't get what he wants, because it's not all about draft position. It's about guaranteed money, right? Because, these major league teams only have so much money to go around for all of their draft picks. So they're not slotted like the NFL is. So they just get their pool of money. And, it's not unheard of for a 4th rounder to sometimes get more money than a 2nd rounder. It just depends what they have available and how bad they really want the guy. So I think that's going to be the one to watch. And I think Josh Hood will be another one. I think he's got potential, to potentially get drafted and go because he got drafted, I think the year he didn't play. So I think it was the 2021 draft. Yeah. He didn't play at all. And he still got drafted, I think in the 16th or 17th round. Mm-hmm. And he's only gotten better. He had a really good solid year for us. So he would be one that I would keep an eye on as well. And don't forget the incoming freshmen. It's potential they get plucked. There's no guarantees that they come in. So we'll have to keep an eye on those guys as well.
Back to the pitching part that we were talking about earlier. You get Sam back probably. Mm-hmm. You get Matt probably back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get Whitaker probably back. You get Lawson back. Carson Kelly. There's 6 guys you could probably, maybe Chris.
Okay.
So that's 6 guys right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though we did lose Highfill, it's that gives the younger guys more experience now that they have going forward.
Yep. Exactly.
That's like the only thing we pretty much need to work on is the bullpen.
Yeah, we need more arms. We need more options. We need more trusty options.
I mean, we got one kid that's pretty much playing in the Coastal Plain League right now for the Wilton Tobbs.
Okay.
His first name's, I call him JD because it's easier to say it, but
yeah,
he's basically, they're using him as a closer right now for Wilson. He's been very good throwing some heat right now for them in the closing role.
Okay. Well, it's good. We need it. So kind of wrapping this thing up, talking about, kind of next year's team. So what are your kind of expectations for next year's team, Justin? Kind of what are some areas that you're looking for hopeful improvement, even specifically, besides just saying like, better pitching and better batting, like, is there specific areas that you're kind of looking at specifically?
I think next year you're going to see a lot more stolen bases.
We need that.
I think we're going to be a whole lot faster next year with certain guys coming in and back. Mm-hmm. Defensively, yes, I know we're losing 47, but I think defensively, I think we're going to be a lot better next year.
I'd hope so. Yeah.
I mean, Peyton Green's going to be.
I mean, we were better when he became
Peyton Green's going to be better defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could play short, second. He can play anywhere in the infield except first base and catch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get Will Marcy back. He might be in the infield.
Mm-hmm.
You get Gino Groover back, who can play infield and outfield.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, half of these guys you got back. I mean, and then you got another guy I forgot to say on the pitcher side. You got Garrett Payne probably back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, half of these guys that you got coming back are pretty good players.
Yeah.
And then the ones coming in.
Absolutely.
Then that doesn't include the portal. I mean, right now we got 2 guys coming in from the portal, and we're still going after some more guys.
So, and we didn't really talk about that, but so we already mentioned Card Trice, but then the second guy, Parker Nolan, who was a transfer in from Davidson, who announced yesterday, correct, Justin, on his Instagram?
Yeah, he put on his Instagram story like Pack 9, something about like see you soon or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So that's nice. So he played outfield. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, he played center field this year for Davidson.
Okay.
So that's another guy who could play center field too.
Okay, and he hit 310 this year batting average. He had I'm looking at this big spreadsheet. He had 15 home runs. So
while you're doing that,
so I mean, a great offensive talent, and an experienced talent too. I mean, he's coming in as a senior, so he's played 4 or 5 years.
It's not really a big risk either.
Exactly.
I mean, if you look at it, it's not big risk. I mean, but it's a good problem to have.
Exactly. Greg, go ahead. What were we going to
add? While we were naming guys coming back, we didn't mention Jacob Cozart. Yep. He's going to be. He started as a freshman. He's going to probably only get better. So he did a decent job of throwing guys out last year. He just needs to do a little bit better job, I think, receiving the ball.
And he was hitting good down the stretch too.
And exactly right. That I know from that Carolina game on. Where he hit the 2 home runs. From that point on, the rest of the season, he was probably one of our hottest hitters.
You got good guys coming back and coming in. So I mean, and then like when we were talking about the transfer, I mean, they had like 2 guys visit campus already on the pitching side.
Okay,
they've already had their visit, so
nice.
Well,
we'll see what happens with that situation. But I'm keeping an eye on that just to see what happens. But I think I really like what the coaching staff's doing in the portal direction wise.
Good, love it. Awesome. Well, again, sounds like a lot of exciting stuff. So hopefully this answers your questions a little bit, Wolfpack Nation, about kind of what's to come for this year's team. Again, that we've said this already, that you see this with a lot of teams throughout in-state athletics right now, that it's kind of a mentality of we're not rebuilding, we're reloading. And I think you're kind of seeing that with Pac-9 right now. You're seeing that with women's basketball, with men's basketball, with football. Like it's athletics wide thing right now that you're seeing throughout and out. So appreciate you, Justin, joining us, my friend, and appreciate you coming on, sharing some Pac-9 knowledge, and hopefully again, I mean, obviously if we can get Noah Souls, Chris Villeman, Sam back, that's 3 big pieces right there. That'll get us very, very high for next year's season for
either
sure.
Way, we're going to be fine either way. The way I look at it, I mean, coaches are doing a good job right now.
I agree.
And that's the last thing to remember too is, there's going to be a lot to be sorted between now and next spring. We got, players coming and going. We got fall ball starting right around football season. We'll start to get a better idea of how it's going to start looking, and I'm sure, Justin, you'll be back with us to let us know, because I know you're out there for all that fall ball stuff, so we look forward to hearing how that goes later on in the year.
Like I said earlier, I think defensively is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, that's good.
It wouldn't surprise me if you see Green at the top of the order next year. It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Wow, that's that'd be big. That's a big statement. Yeah.
I like it.
All right. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. And again, make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you are notified on all your devices whenever we release any new NC State content, as well as do our Tuffy Talk live shows as well that you do not want to miss out on. And then also to give this video a like if you don't mind as well. So that way YouTube will put this video in front of more NC State fans. And also to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk now on Twitter, Instagram if you haven't already. But also to, again, just go give my man Justin a follow. Again, the biggest NC State Pac-9 fan out there as well. So if you want to keep in touch with all things NC State baseball, hey, I'm sure Justin's a great source for that, no doubt about it. But thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, go Pack, y'all. We'll see y'all soon.